from the native perspective, Westerns so commonly, as she says, dehumanize them. They're just part of the landscape. They're not really the main character. So now you have Yellowstone, for example, 1883, 1923, even modern day Yellowstone. The native side of things is crucial to that show. It's what I'm calling a native Western. I don't know if that's a word, a Western movie that is as much about the natives as it is, let's say, just as much about the Indians as it is the cowboys. A lot of times it's just about the cowboy. There'll be Indians in it, but it's just not, it's way more cowboy. So to say that by getting a native story set into the West, maybe according to Lily Gladstone, we need to re-examine what we would even call that as a genre. Because if thus far a Western has meant from the POV of the cowboy, an Indian POV is a different movie. So maybe native Western. Maybe I'm coining something that's probably already been coined for years. But before we get into all that, please like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more vids like this on gangsta movies and television. This will be an ongoing series here in the channel. Again, gangster movies, TV shows, mob news, mob history, all things organized crime. If it is organized, if it is crime, we're going to talk about it. Yeah, I like this too. The film ceases to be an empty genre exercise for Scorsese. So I was talking about this in the last video, not to put any of this on Tarantino because his Westerns have been about other things anyway. But the idea of, you know, Tarantino does a Western to do a Western. He's engaging in the genre exercise of a Western. He's putting his own Tarantino spin on it, but in his words, he always delivers on the genre. Whereas this seems to be Scorsese just wants to do a movie about history that happens to take place in the West. And again, I'm not saying that Tarantino was doing an empty genre exercise. I'm just saying that that's an interesting interpretation. You know, it's important to mention, I don't think this is going to be, let's just attack American history. I don't want to get into this debate either. I don't like getting too deep into this stuff, but it's worth talking about because there's a lot of controversy right now on both sides of like, what do we teach kids in terms of American history? Is America only a bad place of bloodshed and taking people's land and this and that? And again, I'm really not trying to get too deep into this right now, but I will say, I do hope on the capitalism side of things, I hope it doesn't just go after capitalism for the sake of it. Yes, let's go after the negatives of capitalism, the greed side of it, the nothing is ever enough, Sopranos, Henry Hill type thing. Nothing's ever good enough for these guys to the point where they will kill for money, literally. It's part of what they do. I just think that's worth mentioning because any movie that comes out now, there's a risk of just let's hate on America to hate on America. So this is definitely important. While there are complications surrounding a non-Native American filmmaker at the helm of Flower Moon, Scorsese involving the Osage Nation in the film's production, notably in consultation on script rewrites that shifted focus away from the FBI's investigation, which the book is primarily centered on, is uplifting. So yeah, the book was from more the FBI perspective, and then Scorsese flipped it, literally flipped the script with consultation from the Osage Nation to do it from the native side of it. So that's really interesting, is that not only is Scorsese telling a story from the native perspective, but he's actually taking a source material that was the American perspective and flipping it to the native perspective. I mean, the way I feel about it is anyone from any race can make a movie about any race. It's just, you know, consult with people from that race or background, make sure it's all accurate. I like this. Along with his co-writer Eric Roth. Eric Roth, we talked last video, wrote Forrest Gump, Curious Case of Benjamin Button. He's written a lot of big stuff. Scorsese was inspired to rewrite the script to make it more embracing as a human story rather than a procedural. Because again, the first book is about the birth of the FBI through the lens of, I guess their big first case was these Osage murders. But then Scorsese, once again, literally flipped the script with Eric Roth, rewriting it to making it more of a human story than a procedural. So it's really fixated, as it's saying, on the poisonous relationship between Ernest and Molly Burkhart, between DiCaprio and Lily Gladstone. And this is according to reviews out of Cannes. So the movie was screened at Cannes. People, of course, loved it. I say, of course, because it's Scorsese. Like, that doesn't mean the public is going to. Let's not lie. But I like this line a lot. Throughout his storied career, Scorsese movies concisely compartmentalize weighty topics into a defined perspective. Taxi Driver rigidly follows the life of an insomniac cab operator simmering with rage, but it quietly taps into a post-Vietnam War social decay in the country at a macro level. It says Wolf of Wall Street gracefully announces itself as a cynical indictment of unbridled capitalism. Yeah, I like that. Concisely compartmentalizes weighty topics, so you get one guy, but it's about a way bigger topic. You know, Taxi Driver, Vietnam America, Wolf of Wall Street, a cynical indictment of unbridled capitalism, but it's through one guy. And then Gladstone, again in the same Empire interview, this dynamic of examining American colonialism through the precarious relationship between Ernest and Molly is pure Scorsese storytelling. A Western or not, the juxtaposition of the open American frontier with a fateful romance and dehumanizing capitalistic greed has the potential to be transcended. It's going to transcend genres. I like that a lot. And finally, by lending a pronounced voice to Native American people, which is a rarity in even the most nuanced Westerns, Killers of the Flower Moon stands in a genre of its own. So it's its own genre, guys. Once again, we could have just called it a day and said it's its own movie. There was no point in this. No, but it's cool to see each movie, especially with artists that are this big and prolific and are good at telling stories from so many different angles. You're going to get some crossover in terms of genre, but for a guy like Scorsese, you can't get bigger than that in terms of mob genre. So it's cool to see him, you know, go outside that shell. So as always, please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more vids like this on gangsta movies and television. For next video, we're going to talk more on Killers of the Flower Moon. There's plenty of more articles, plenty of more stuff to talk about because this is the new Scorsese movie. So stay tuned. Ciao.